Light and Peace for Today. A series of biblical themes by Joaquim Diaz, in the voice of António Sala. Theme 13. Practical result of observance of the law of the 10 Commandments in the relationship with God and our neighbors. Great peace has those who love your law, and there is no stumbling block for them. Psalm 119, 165. The first 4 commandments of the law of God are summarized in loving God above all things, and the last 6 in loving our neighbor as ourselves. Matthew 22, 36-40. With this in mind, this theme analyzes the content of each commandment and the result of its application in our relationship with God and others. Exodus 20, 3-17, Deuteronomy 5, 7-21. How to relate to God. First commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. Exodus 23. Q. Since ancient times, what were the objects of worship in the various nations on earth which God prohibited to his people? A. The sun, the moon, images, love of money, among others. Any object or addiction that takes us away from faith in God or that attracts us so much so as to diminish our love for God can constitute a god. The same can be said about the excessive desire for reputation, honors, or a life in which selfish and irresponsible comfort predominates. Deuteronomy 17:2-5, 4:13, 19, Philippians 3:19. Second commandment, you shall not make for yourself graven images or any likeness of anything that's in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You will not bow down to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Exodus 20, Acts 4, 4-6. Q. What does the Bible say about idolatry? A. All the makers of graven images are vanity. Behold, all their followers will be confounded. The carpenter stretches out the ruler, flattens, makes his God in the likeness of a man. He also makes a carved image and kneels before it. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths, but they don't speak. They have eyes, but they don't see. They have ears, but they do not hear. They have a nose, but they don't smell. They have hands, but they don't feel. They have feet, but they don't walk. Not a single sound comes out of your throat. Let those who make them become like them, and all who trust in them. Isaiah 44, 9-20, Psalm 115, 4-8. Q. What should true worship look like? A. True worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, because the Father seeks such as worship him. God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. John 4:23. Third commandment, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him innocent who takes his name in vain. Exodus 27. Q. What is taking God's name in vain? A. The expression in vain is the translation of a word that means iniquity, falsehood, vanity. To use it in vain or swear in its name is to trivialize the name of God, for so holy and awesome is his name. Psalm 111:9. Q. What did Jesus teach about oaths? A. But I say to you, do not swear at all, not by heaven, for it is the throne of God, nor by the earth, which is the footstool for his feet. Let it be, however, to say, yes, yes, no, no, because anything beyond this is of evil origin. Matthew 5:34-37. Q. Does Jesus condemn the judicial oath? A. No. When the high priest said to Jesus, I charge you by the living God to tell us whether you are the Christ, the Son of God, Jesus replied, you have said so. Matthew 26:63-64. Fourth commandment, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and on the 7th day rested. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it. Exodus 20, 8-11. Q. What is celebrated on Saturday? A. Creation in 6 days. And when God finished on the 7th day his work, which he had done, he rested on the 7th day from all his work, which he had done. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it. Genesis 2:2-3. Having seen the first 4 commandments in the first table of the law, there we find our duties towards God. This table culminates with a blessing for those who recognize God as a creator. How to relate to our fellow man. In the second table of the law, we have 6 commandments which deal with relationships with others. Matthew 22:34-40. 5th commandment, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. Exodus 20:12. Q. What does the 5th commandment command? A. Honor your father and mother. It should be noted that the first of these 6 commandments, in addition to valuing respect for parents, is, in the words of the Apostle Paul, the first commandment with promise, that it may go well with you, and that you may laugh. It should be noted that the first of these 6 commandments, in addition to valuing respect for parents, is, in the words of the Apostle Paul, the first commandment with promise, that it may go well with you, and that you may live long on the earth. Ephesians 6:1-3. Q. What is honoring your father and mother? A. It is to pay them respect and obedience. By extension, given that up to the age of their children's moral reason, parents represent God, it is logical that they owe them such respect. Obedience begins with the attitude of children towards their parents. Another implication of this commandment is to inculcate in young people the duty to respect all legitimately established authority. Deuteronomy 6:6, 7, Ephesians 6:1-3, Colossians 3:20, Romans 13:1-7, Hebrews 13:17, 1st Epistle of Peter 2:13-18. This attitude of respect, therefore, must begin at home and continue throughout your life, whether at home, at school, at work, or in society. As the eminent and world-renowned writer Ellen White states, one of the first lessons a child needs to learn is the lesson of obedience. In this way, we can largely avoid those later conflicts between will and authority, which contribute so much to creating hostility and bitterness towards parents and teachers, and very often resistance to all authority, human or divine. Ellen White, Education, page 287. Q. Is there any situation in which a child, a person, can, and even should, correctly refuse to obey their parents or even authorities? A. Yes, as long as it involves disobeying God. Here are some examples. You children, be obedient to your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Ephesians 6:1. But Peter and the rest of the apostles answered and said, we must obey God rather than men. Acts 5:29. 6th commandment, thou shalt not kill. Exodus 20:13. Q. What is killing? A. In short, we can say that it is taking a life, but it is not that linear. As Jesus expanded, you have heard that it was said to those of old time, you shall not kill. But I say to you, that whoever is angry with his brother without reason will be liable to judgment. Matthew 5:21-22. It is therefore clear that harboring hatred in your heart against someone is already, in the spirit of the law, being guilty of transgression of this commandment. Q. What will happen to those who slowly kill their body with improper food, drugs, etc.? A. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone destroys the temple of God, God will destroy him. For the temple which you are is holy. First Epistle to the Corinthians 33, 16, 17. Seventh commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. Exodus 20, 14. Q. What is adultery? A. It is a violation of the marriage vow. It's infidelity. Q. What did Jesus say about this commandment? A. You have heard that it was said to the ancients, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you, whoever looks at a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Matthew 5:27, 28. Q. What is the only cause of divorce in the Bible that allows the innocent spouse to remarry? A. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife, except because of fornication, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries her, who is divorced, commits adultery. Matthew 5:32, 19, 9. Eighth commandment, thou shalt not steal. Exodus 20, 15. Q. What is stealing? A. It is fraudulently subtracting, stealing, falsifying. Q. What is the remedy for someone who steals? A. It is work, therefore, as the Apostle Paul admonishes, let him who stole steal no more, but rather work, doing what is good with his hands, so that he may share with those in need. Ephesians 4:28. Ninth commandment, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Exodus 20:16. Q. What is false testimony? A. It's a lie, slander, false accusation, which hurts reputation. Q. What is the liar's luck? A. A lying witness will perish. Proverbs 21:28. Q. Who is the father of lies? A. Here are the words of Jesus to those who practice lies. You are of your father, the devil. He was a murderer from the beginning and did not stand in the truth. He is a liar and the father of lies. John 8:44. Q. What does the Bible advise? A. Leave lies and speak the truth. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honest, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if there is any virtue, and if there is any praise, think about it. Ephesians 4:25, Philippians 4:8. 10th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's house, nor covet your neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that belongs to your neighbor. Exodus 20:7. Q. What is greed? A. It is the burning desire to possess. It is an excessive ambition for riches. Q. How does greed arise, and what results from it? A. Woe to those who in their beds intend iniquity and plot evil. In the light of the morning, they do it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them. So they do violence to a man and to his house, to a person and to his inheritance. Micah 2:1-2. Conclusion. The 10 Commandments are the basis of all morality and justice. They serve to guide us in our relationship with God and our neighbors. Observance of the commandments shows that we love God and our neighbors. By himself, man has to recognize that he cannot fulfill the commandments. However, this is possible by the grace of God through faith. For everyone can experience this power and say like Paul of Tarsus, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. One of the most flagrant examples of the transgression of God's law was King David. Indulging in idleness gave rise to the sin of greed, which led him to transgress the law of God through the heinous practice of a succession of execrable actions. Greed, abuse of authority, adultery, lying, strategically premeditated murder with refinements of harm the country. The law showed sins, and David, as we read in his famous Psalm 51, confesses his sin, begs forgiveness, and prays to God, create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. David plunged into an abundance of sins, but repentant, Paul's words were fulfilled in him. But the law came that the offense might abound, but where sin abounded, grace abounded all the more. Second book of Samuel 11 and 12, Psalm 51, Romans 5:20. Light and Peace for Today. A series of biblical themes by Joaquim Diaz, in the voice of António Sala.